Chapter 851, Combine with the Tree. The arcane's shadow slowly disappeared in the darkness. Cloudy stretched out her hand to grab him, but she grabbed nothing. The arcane laughed out loud. When the king awakens, please tell him my name. Silence then filled this dark space. The arcane walked along the roots of the world tree. The roots, which were stained with dirt, were wide enough to fit 3 cars. At that moment, someone behind him shouted, "Have you been the one talking to me all this time?" The arcane turned and looked behind him. "Young lady, have you destroyed the barrier I have created for you?" Coral pursed her lips and did not speak. She looked at the young man in black robes sitting on the roots of the world tree. She asked softly, "What on earth is Lu's shoe?" The arcane laughed. "I can't tell you this, but you seem to have the answer." "Where are you going?" Coral asked. "To do what I have to do." The arcane smiled. "Everyone has their own mission. But this mission was given to you by someone else, right? There's no need to fulfill missions for the sake of others. You should devote your life to your own mission." It was as if Coral had realized that the arcane was about to do. The arcane shook his head. "My life is his. The mission he has given me is my fate." "Okay. Take care." The arcane then pressed his palm against the massive tree that reached the sky. Suddenly, the leaves and branches of the tree started to shake. Even heaven seemed to tremble. Then, the arcane floated into the tree like a black fog. Suddenly, about 100 branches fell in front of Coral. "The deities are too petty. You treat a broken tree branch like a treasure. I will give this to you." "Ha! Ha! Ha! Ha!" "I'll stop talking. I just want to ask. Are you rich?" The next moment, Coral was sent out from the world with the world tree. The white symbol in her hand flew towards the heavenly lake. The branches of the world tree started to glow brightly. Each branch had more volume than the Gungnir. Then, the white symbol displayed its skills in the heavenly lake. Suddenly, a massive tree appeared out of thin air and landed in the heavenly lake. It would use the heavenly lake as its source of water. Then, there was a crash. It was as if the roots of the world tree had gone through the mountains and planted itself in the earth. The once empty heavenly lake was now covered by the giant tree. The leaves and branches swayed. Everyone near the fort realized that the crack in the sky had slowly started to close. The world, which had been swaying, also came to a stop. Cloudy and Tiger Ji landed beside the world tree. Cloudy looked up at the lush and green crown of the tree. She shouted, "Second brother?" But there was only the sound of leaves rustling in the wind. There was no reply. Cloudy was somewhat disappointed, and even sad. The rest of the puppet masters had either died or betrayed the rest. Only she and Tiger Ji were left. Suddenly, Cloudy felt that something was not right. One of the branches of the world tree curved downwards. The leaves on the branch lightly touched Cloudy's head. It was like how the arcane had lightly petted Cloudy's head when she was still young. Cloudy smiled. She knew that the arcane was not dead yet. He was just protecting this mountain in another form. When everyone in the tiger-back battlefield saw that the crack in the sky had closed, they all heaved a sigh of relief. Although they did not know why a tree had suddenly appeared on a mountain in the distance, they were sure that it had something to do with stabilizing the world. Although they did not know who had planted the tree, it would be fine as long as the world did not break. If not, the crack might widen when the heavenly punishment struck. All of them might perish with this world. Wait, something was not right, the heavenly punishment. The members of the large organizations suddenly remembered. Although the world had stabilized, the heavenly punishment would still strike. But it was now too late to react. Nia Ting had landed in the middle of the large organizations. No one dared to get close to him. Everyone was running outwards wildly. How could they bear a heavenly punishment like that? The members of the large organizations no longer cared about their formations. All the large organizations were mixed with one another. All of them were thinking about the same thing. They just wanted to escape. But there were too many people, and it was too crowded. Under these circumstances, the weaker ones might be stepped on and die. The messier it was, the slower their escape. Someone wanted to step on the heads of others and run away. This seemed very easy in movies, but was extremely difficult in real life. He had just stepped on the first head before he was angrily dragged down by his victim. The entire battlefield had become a fantasy drama that narrated the escape from a disaster. It was extremely nauseating. A great and vast war had collapsed because Nie Ting had landed among the crowd. Nie Ting would be able to regain his status as Shinsong Jing through the heavenly punishment, but they would die. Nie Ting laughed coldly. It's too late for you to run now. Suddenly, a purple thunderbolt appeared. The thunderbolt was shaped like a sword. It was very thrilling. The purple thunderbolt was about to strike the ground. Everyone was running outwards. Only Lu Shu went against the flow of people and headed towards where Nie Ting was. When the members of the large organizations ran past Lu Shu, they thought that he was crazy. But Lu Shu had no mercy against them. The sparrow shade continued to take lives as he ran. The large organizations started to run more slowly because Lu Shu was going against the flow. The purple lightning headed straight for Nie Ting. Nie Ting slashed upwards. The thunder sounded like a crash in all directions. With Nie Ting as the center, everyone within a 3-kilometer radius felt that the thunderbolt was burning their blood. The energy from the thunderbolt continued to surge on the ground. In a flash, countless of metahumans from the large organizations had died a bloody death. The bronze-armored soldiers saw this. The 9th Heavenly King's suggestion was not bad. Look at the 9th Heavenly King. He was also affected by the impact of the thunderbolt. Will he be alright? Everyone looked at Lu Shu. His body was trembling wildly. He was different from the members of the large organizations. He could definitely bear the impact of the thunderbolt. Do you feel that although the 9th Heavenly King had been struck, he looks very happy? When Yu Mingyu heard this, he looked at Lu Shu carefully. Lu Shu's eyes had lit up. Chapter 852, again? The impact of the thunderbolt was just too powerful. Lu Shu was sure that if the large organizations did not help Nie Ting to share the power of the heavenly punishment, Nie Ting would not be able to bear it. After all, he had just destroyed his own foundation. Now, there was another problem. Lu Shu was very worried. There were too many people sharing the power from the thunderbolt. His lightning aura blade prototypes would take a longer time to recharge. Thus, when everyone was running away, Lu Shu endured the impact of the thunderbolt and continued to approach Nie Ting. The impact of the thunderbolt continued to spread outwards. 1/3 of the members from the large organizations were dead. From today onwards, no one would be evenly matched to the heavenly network. It was as if they were deliberately grouped together to be wiped out all at once by Nie Ting. How tragic! The bronze-armored soldiers suddenly became excited. The 9th Heavenly King is still getting closer to Heavenly King Nie. Oh my god, he's gotten even closer. Chen Zuan said faintly, I know that he's not going there to help Principal Nie. There's no one who can threaten Principal Nie now. The thunderbolt continued to strike. Lu Shu put in tremendous effort before he was finally within 200 meters of Nie Ting. He thought that he could stay here and absorb the power from the thunderbolt to charge his prototypes. But before he could react, Nie Ting suddenly soared into the sky. He wanted to go somewhere with a higher concentration of people and share the impact of the thunderbolt. All those around him who were supposed to die had died, and those who were supposed to be injured had been injured. But there were many other organizations in other places. In a flash, Niating had landed among the members of the Danki and the pledge. They were very comfortable. The thunderbolt would move over. Boss, you have killed 1/3 of the people off. Can you let us off? You should not be moving around like that when being struck by lightning, right? If you come here, we cannot defend ourselves. Lu Shu was dumbfounded. He stood in his original position and almost shouted abuses. It had taken him a lot of effort to come here. But Niating had run away. He still had over 200 sword prototypes that had not been fully charged. And yet Niating had flown away. Do you know how injured you are? Can you just stand there and wait? The bronze-armored soldiers stood on the fort and looked on helplessly as their 9th heavenly king ran after Niating, but as he approached Niating, Niating flew somewhere else. The heavenly punishment continued for more than 10 minutes, but Lu Shu only caught the first wave. He spent the rest of the time chasing after Niating. Lu Shu suspected that Niating had done this intentionally. After the heavenly punishment was over, Niating flew to Lu Shu and looked at him with a puzzled expression on his face. Why are you here? Lu Shu said, maybe it's because it's too boring up there? I came here to relieve my boredom. Lu Shu realized that Niating was very pale. Niating had exhausted most of his energy. But there were benefits to Niating's contributions. The large organizations were in a mess. It would be impossible for them to form an effective combat force. Of course, they might not have as many people as the Heavenly Network. As for Lu Shu, he had earned an unimaginable amount of distress points. He had more than enough points to light up the 6th level of Nebula. Lu Shu was suddenly rather puzzled. So, distress points were that easy to earn, as long as he killed a lot of people. Killing thousands of practitioners was difficult, but the distress points earned from killing civilians and killing metahumans were the same. They all produced 1,000 points. Lu Shu was suddenly alarmed. How did he think of this? Why did he have to kill civilians? To Lu Shu, strength and power was important, but not important enough to kill unarmed civilians. This was a multiple-choice question. One option would allow him to become strong immediately. The other would require prolonged effort. Lu Shu chose the latter, as he still had morals. The first option was very tempting. It seemed extremely easy to obtain. But that was not what Lu Shu wanted. Lu Shu suddenly felt that something was not right. It was as if this world had given him 2 possibilities for him to choose from the very beginning. These 2 possibilities would lead to 2 completely different routes. But Lu Shu felt that he was leveling up at a relatively fast pace. He could light up the 6th level of Nebula now. But Lu Shu glanced at the over 200 sword prototypes in his sea of qi that had not been charged. Lu Shu could ask Coral. The lightning on the Gungnir was rather strong. But the problem was, Coral had lost her memory. When he talked to her, she suddenly said, "Don't talk, call me." This was rather strange. Now that the heavenly punishment was over, how was he supposed to charge his over 200 aura blades? Niating looked calmly at Lu Shu. He hesitated before saying, "Thank you. It's all thanks to your willingness to provide such precious gains." Lu Shu looked up at Niating. He was silent for 2 seconds. He then took out 2 fruits. One. It's like this. If you want to thank me, go through the heavenly punishment again. Niating was confused. From Niating's distress, plus 999. When Lu Shu saw that Niating's complexion was not good, he quickly laughed and gave up on the idea of charging his sword prototypes. Ha! Ha! I'm just joking. Don't take it seriously. Niating understood. He looked at the fruits in Lu Shu's hand, he had so many of them. But Niating could not understand how Lu Shu had so many of these mythical objects. These were fruits that could increase one's aptitude. An elite team of geniuses could be formed with enough fruits. Suddenly, Ting furrowed his eyebrows. He looked up in the northwest direction. Lu Shu was dumbfounded. What's wrong? Someone is destroying the sword formation. Ting furrowed his eyebrows. The sword formation can't stop him. Lu Shu thought about it and asked, what is under the sword formation? Under the sword formation, Ting said, is where the puppet masters appeared back then. Lu Shu looked at Ting's expression. Ting was exhausted. Chen Bailey and the bishop had been badly injured during their fight. He knew what Ting was worried about. If someone was able to destroy the sword formation, they were definitely an expert above Class A. If it was not Francesco, the saint, or the bishop, then who could it be? Lu Shu had a feeling that it was not Cloudy or Tiger Ji. It was the controller who had their eyes on Lu Xiaoyu. Don't go. You and Chen Bailey are no match for him now. Don't die after regaining your status as Shinsong Jing. The Heavenly Network still needs you. Lu Shu said calmly. I'll go. Ting suddenly recalled the conversation Ma Eugene had with Lu Shu. He was touched. This young man had finally grown to be a heavenly king. He watched as Lu Shu roared to Chaos, who had been dodging the heavenly punishment, let's go to kill people. Chaos rushed down. It did not stop when it passed by Lu Shu. Lu Shu jumped and grabbed Chaos' horn. They then headed towards the sword formation. Gains in Chinese can also refer to fruits. Chapter 853, Creator of Dreams. Lu Shu did not ask for anyone's help. Instead, he took the lead and went with Chaos to kill. Lu Shu still had his own intentions, as he wanted to kill the culprit in private, and not be questioned by others. Lu Shu did not expect Lu Xiaoyu's abilities to be exposed. Lu Shu was on his guard. There were some secrets Lu Xiaoyu and Lu Shu possessed that he did not want others to know about. Now, the Heavenly Network dominated the situation. Thus, Lu Shu was generous in giving Ting the refresher fruits. In the past, he had hidden these fruits as he could not protect himself. But now, things were different. He was the 9th Heavenly King. He did not have to worry about his safety, unless it was the puppet masters. Of course, even then, Lu Shu did not want others to know that he had an infinite supply of refresher fruits. Furthermore, Lu Shu did not want to reveal the secret that he could earn distress points from others. He had far too many secrets. He was afraid that the culprit might know something. Thus, he decided to settle it by himself. If someone created a problem for him, he would kill that person. If the culprit knew many secrets about them, he would make them bring the secrets to their grave. At the same time, Tiger Ji, who was at the Heavenly Lake, looked up at the World Tree and sighed. I thought that the Arcane had been behind this. I didn't expect that Dream Chooser would be the culprit. He can only hide behind the scenes and carry out his plan. It seems like he has been stripped of his ability. It probably happened when Little Fury gained the ability to create dreams. Cloudy was silent. Dream Chooser's ability was given to Little Fury to sell digital coins. What a pity.
Ha! Ha!
I don't think that it's a pity. Dream Chooser took a long time before he learned how to create dreams. Little Fury can learn too. Tiger Ji smiled honestly. This way, the puppet masters have a new companion, even though it is just a Fury, but I didn't expect Dream Chooser to come up with such a conspiracy. He looks so honest. Cloudy shook her head. You don't know. Dream Chooser had formed a mental illness. But let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about his abilities. A person who is an expert in creating dreams. A person who is able to alter real-life scenes. A person who is able to send people into dreamland. How can that person be a simple person? Mental illness? Tiger Ji asked curiously. I'm not too sure either, but he has portrayed too many lives. He has even portrayed different mentalities. I realized that he occasionally could not recognize me a long time ago. In reality, the Dream Chooser was the most calculative and the best in playing with the hearts of people among the puppet masters. Perhaps it was because of this that he was the most likely to betray them. Now, the Heavenly Network is dominating the situation. The world is also slowly healing. When Nieting is able to attack, the Heavenly Network will truly be invincible. Even you and I will be no match for him. Cloudy said softly, we need to remain silent and continue to wait for the day our king returns. Suddenly, they noticed the waves of energy from the sword formation. Earlier, they had been rushing to the world tree, thus they did not notice any waves of energy from the sword formation. Now that they realized that the arcane was no longer around, they had the capacity to notice other things. Someone is touching the sword formation. Cloud Yi's expression darkened. It's most likely Dream Chooser. Has he chosen to go back there? The two of them immediately put on their black robes. The ironclad puppets flew out and accompanied them. We can clean the gate today. Lu Shu stood on Chaos Head. He gripped Chaos Horns tightly, he had to hold on. If not, he would be blown away by the wind. He could see the sword formation in the distance. The broken pieces from the sword formation flew about. There were 5 people standing by the sword formation. All of them were wearing black clothes. There was the gold-embroidered symbol of the Darkness Kingdom on the clothes. Lu Shu furrowed his eyebrows. They were from the Darkness Kingdom. No wonder he did not see anyone from the Darkness Kingdom in the war. So they had secretly gone around the fort and come to the sword formation. So that was why they had not participated in the war. They wanted the large organizations to distract the Heavenly Network and weaken Shen Bailey and Nieting. Their goal was the secret under the sword formation. Lu Shu suddenly realized that they were stronger than he had expected. When the 5 of them worked together, the broken pieces from the sword formation could not injure them. But individually, they did not seem very strong. They simply relied on their combined power. Lu Shu sighed a soft sigh of relief. If they were not Class A's, he could defeat them easily. At that moment, one of them suddenly grabbed a broken piece from the sword formation. He turned and sent the broken piece flying towards Lu Shu. Lu Shu jumped off Chaos and landed in front of the 5 people. Their faces were hidden in their hoods. Their leader slowly walked forward and smiled at Lu Shu. You have come, just as expected. Lu Shu looked as the person walked towards him recklessly. He was silent for 2 seconds and stretched out his hand. The transparent Cheng-Ing sword pierced through the person's heart. From Dream Chooser's distress, plus 1,000. From Dream Chooser's distress, plus 629. From Dream Chooser's distress, plus 531. From Dream Choosers. From Dream Choosers. Lu Shu gasped in shock. This was probably the most generous enemy he had encountered. This was his first time seeing someone produce so many distress points when they died. The rest of them seemed very shocked and looked at Lu Shu. It was as if they did not expect Lu Shu to be so direct. They were just chatting. Why did he suddenly attack? Lu Shu thought that since they were very strong when they worked together, if he killed one of them, their power would drop significantly. Furthermore, that person had been very reckless. He was just asking for death. Lu Shu looked at the rest. Who is the leader here? The rest can die an easier death. But at this moment, the 4 of them looked at one another and smiled. One of them said, I am the leader. Me too. I have made a lot of decisions. But I make the most important decisions. Lu Shu was confused. He felt as if he was facing a schizophrenic patient. He had watched a video that introduced schizophrenia. In the video, different personalities were fighting among themselves, just like what was happening now. Chapter 854, Strange Method. But the problem was, no matter how bad your schizophrenia was, you could only have one body. But there were 5 bodies here. Wait. Lu Shu furrowed his eyebrows. When he had killed one of them, he had only earned distress points from one person. Furthermore, this name had appeared 5 times. He was certain that people would produce 1,000 distress points before they died. This meant that there was nothing as terrible as death. Distress points was the greatest fear. But at that moment, did the Dream Chooser's companions not produce any distress points at all? That was not rational. No matter how cold or emotionless you were, you would definitely produce a few distress points when you saw your companion die. But Lu Shu took a closer look at the distress points he had earned. He realized that he had earned the 1,000 points first, before the rest of the points were produced. He had died. Why did he produce distress points 4 more times after he had died? Countless possibilities flashed in Lu Shu's mind. But the most convincing one was the most irrational. The 5 of them were the same person. Although the fact that this person had 5 bodies was very bizarre, for some reason, Lu Shu felt that this was the most accurate deduction. After all, it was the magically rich era. Everything was possible. After he eliminated a few incorrect deductions, the remaining conclusions were not impossible. In fact, they could be the truth. Lu Shu sighed. Was this the strongest patient with schizophrenia he had met? If others asked him how many people he had killed at the sword formation, should he say 5 or 1? Of course, Lu Shu knew that it was not the time to worry about this problem. They knew from the very beginning that Lu Shu would definitely come. Thus, Lu Shu came here with uncertainty. They were his doubts and suspicions that had slowly appeared throughout the entire incident. Lu Shu remained puzzled even after much thought. But he knew that Dream Chooser would know the answer. It was as if as long as Lu Shu asked him something, he would reveal an earth-shaking secret. At that moment, the remaining 4 people smiled and asked, "Don't you want to ask me something? For example, why I know about Lu Xiaoyu. For example, why I wanted to lure you out here." Lu Shu said, "No." From Dream Chooser's Distress, plus 666. From. Lu Shu's eyes lit up. He knew that this person had a trick up his sleeve. He produced distress points 4 times. Who else would be able to produce so many points? Lu Shu asked with anticipation, "Do you have any other questions for me?" Dream Chooser was dumbfounded. He was evidently the one giving answers here. He would wait for Lu Shu to ask him a question and then reveal some secrets. But he realized that their roles had been swapped. It was as if Lu Shu wanted to give him a big surprise. This is mental. Dream Chooser had been waiting for this day for a very long time. He had started planning for this day since last year. Every detail of this scene had been recreated exactly like in the dreams that he created. He had come up with 391 possibilities, but none of them suited the current situation. This made Dream Chooser irritated. He was used to controlling everything in dreams. But now, not only was his ability to create dreams gone, he could not control the situation. Lu Shu could sense his irritation and panic. The Sparrow Shade, Corpse Dog and Concealed Arrow were ready. Lu Shu wanted to produce lightning and kill them instantly. A storm was brewing above the cliffs. The Sparrow Shade charged towards the 4 people, while the 2 flying swords hid within the Sparrow Shade. But suddenly, Lu Shu felt uncertain. He felt as if the 4 Dream Choosers were laughing at him. The ground around Lu Shu started to glow with a red light. It was as if there was a red net on the ground that had been concealed. Lu Shu jumped and tried to avoid the red net, but the net followed him wherever he went. Chaos, who was in the sky, came back to Lu Shu. Lu Shu also kept Sparrow Shade and Corpse Dog. He tried to forcibly break through the net. But before Chaos could reach Lu Shu, the large net suddenly split. One of the nets captured Lu Shu, while the other captured Chaos. But Lu Shu was puzzled. Sparrow Shade and the other flying swords had returned to the celestial map, as if they were not being controlled by Lu Shu. The red net tightened and slowly disappeared. It was as if it had integrated with his body. Lu Shu fell on the ground. He felt that he could not stand up straight. His whole body hurt. This height was nothing to him in the past. He would not feel any pain even if he fell to the ground. Dream Chooser suddenly laughed. I've lost mine and you've lost yours. Is it fair now? All this time, my boundary has been dropping. There is no way for me to reverse it. You will experience the same suffering. Lu Shu tried to clench his fists, but realized that they were not as strong as before. He looked at Dream Chooser. What did you lose? What does it have to do with me?
Ha! Ha!
There's no use trying. Dream Chooser laughed. I have waited in the Golden Foundation for so long. I also controlled the Darkness Kingdom for 2 years. I have finally found something so useful in this barren place. It is extremely suitable for me. When Lu Shu heard this, he furrowed his eyebrows. This was the first time he had heard that Dream Chooser was in both the Golden Foundation and the Darkness Kingdom. The Golden Foundation had started to collect various weapons even before the dawn of the magical era. Furthermore, he was the ruler of the Darkness Kingdom. The Darkness Kingdom had handled many deals in the past 2 years. It was not an exaggeration to say that the Darkness Kingdom was the organization who possessed the most weapons and mythical objects. Chaos was also trapped by the red net. It could not even fly. But Chaos was still struggling. Lu Shu realized that he did not even have the strength to struggle. It was as if he had never trained. Suddenly, the 4 Dream Choosers landed beside Lu Shu at the same time. They wanted to firmly keep Lu Shu in the middle. But while they let their guard down, Lu Shu suddenly attacked. The transparent Chang'ing sword slashed through Dream Chooser's stomach. Dream Chooser did not expect that Lu Shu, who had become an ordinary person, could still injure him. His vigor, which contained the spirit of swordplay, as well as the sharpness of the Chang'ing sword, were unparalleled. Dream Chooser, who was injured, slowly sat on the ground and panted. Follow the original plan. Lu Shu had injured the actual Dream Chooser. The other 2 Dream Choosers grabbed Lu Shu's fingers and wounded him. Dream Chooser drew a drop of Lu Shu's blood and flicked it at the sword formation. The drop of blood suddenly disappeared, as if it had entered an invisible door. Crash! A celestial light screen that was 3 meters wide appeared out of thin air above the sword formation. Dream Chooser heaved a sigh of relief and smiled. It's finally going to end. Wait until I return there. I will get everything back again. Chapter 855, Clean the Gate. I have underestimated you. Dream Chooser looked at the Chang'ing sword, which had pierced through his stomach. You could injure me, even with the strength of an ordinary person. As expected of a special bloodline. As he spoke, Dream Chooser painfully took out the Chang'ing sword and threw it on the ground. That attack was interesting. If you were more prepared, I might have actually died. Lu Shu calmly stood. He was calm, even though he had been controlled. He felt as if he had heard the word bloodline somewhere before, but could not remember who had said it. Since Dream Chooser had brought up the topic of bloodline, he would know Lu Shu's origins. He was waiting for him, as if only his blood would be able to activate the door. The puppet masters had come to Earth from this door, right? Why was he involved? Dream Chooser looked at Lu Shu. Do you want to know? If you want to know, ask me. I will tell you. Does your wound hurt? Lu Shu laughed cheerily. One of them punched Lu Shu in the stomach. Lu Shu groaned. All his muscles started to tremble because of the intense pain. He lowered his head and clenched his teeth. He did not say anything. He wanted to explore what other tricks he could use. The red net was a chain. His abilities had not disappeared. They had just been locked up. Lu Shu realized that practitioners relied on spirit qi for their strength, while Lu Shu relied on celestial powers. If his celestial map was locked up, he would be an ordinary person. But, what should he do to become truly strong? Lu Shu felt some danger. He felt as if he was unarmed in a dangerous place. His physique, which he was proud of, could not be relied on now. If he was able to survive today, he had to build up his body. Lu Shu could feel the celestial map's anger. He tried to break through the chains of the red net, but he was much weaker now. The abilities he controlled, such as the Seal of Lands and his flying swords, all relied on his celestial powers. But he could not use them at all. Suddenly, chaos broke free from the chains of the red net. Lu Shu realized that this red net was not particularly secure. He could break through as well. Although he was not as strong as chaos now, but he would be able to break free eventually. But when Dream Chooser saw that chaos had broken through and was charging towards him, he no longer hesitated. He killed off the remaining clones and jumped towards the celestial gate above the canyon. It was as if he was not afraid of the abyss beneath him. Chaos charged towards the celestial gate, but it was slower than Dream Chooser. It was just too far away. Chaos started to panic. This person was about to bring Lu Shu somewhere. Crash. The light from the celestial gate suddenly burst. Dream Chooser was thrown back to the cliff with a crash. Dream Chooser was dumbfounded. He looked at the door. How is this possible? Why can't I go through? Why? Chaos looked at Dream Chooser and roared, chirp chirp chirp. You are back, but what about Lu Shu? Where was Lu Shu? Dream Chooser had been driven off, but Lu Shu had entered the gate. The person who wanted to enter could not, but the person who did not want to enter went in. Cloudy and Tiger Ji landed. Cloudy looked at the celestial gate, which closed and disappeared. She sighed. We were too late. Everything happened earlier than scheduled. We did not do our best. Tiger Ji was more forgiving. It's still fine. Didn't you say that the king has to walk the king's road himself? Cloudy rolled her eyes attractively. For some reason, she was charming even when she rolled her eyes. Cloudy looked at Dream Chooser. You didn't expect that you wouldn't be able to go through the gate, right? Dream Chooser looked at Cloudy fiercely and asked, do you know why? You know that we had to reduce our own class to go through the door. This is a ban that the old King of Gods decided on. He was worried that after the world tree was uprooted, someone would come and destroy this world. Thus, Class A's and above cannot go through. You also know that back then, we used the blood of the new king to activate the gate. You could not find an opportunity to kill him, thus you tried to trick him to come here, said Cloudy calmly. It was as if she had accepted Tiger Ji's words that the king had to walk the king's road himself. She believed that Lu Shu would not easily die there. Dream Chooser looked as if he was growing insane. He laughed. My strength has dropped to that of a Class B and I activated the gate. So why can't I go through? Because you don't know that only the king and the puppet masters can go through that door. Cloudy calmly said, and now, you are no longer a puppet master. Dream Chooser was silent. As expected. The old King of Gods trusts you more. Why did you betray our king? Cloudy asked. King? There is already someone on the throne. Dream Chooser looked ferocious. Who are you following? Cloudy looked at Dream Chooser, as if she was not afraid of him. We are following the person, not the throne. You do not understand that some people were born to be kings. This cannot be changed. When Chaos heard their conversation, it was dumbfounded. It suddenly realized that Cloudy and Tiger Ji were on the same side, and they knew from the very beginning where Lu Shu had gone. Dream Chooser laughed coldly. You have fully recovered your abilities, but you don't know how frustrated I have been. You are too obsessed with your abilities in the dream world. I'm afraid that you're confused after living till now. Cloudy said with disdain, since you have betrayed the king, you have to pay the price. There are always people who forget the lessons their ancestors have taught them. Didn't the Arcane betray the king as well? Why weren't his abilities taken away? Dream Chooser asked. Because the king was always the most respected existence to him. He planned to kill the person beside the king, but that was for the sake of the king. He was just too kind in his intentions. Cloudy shook her head. But you are different. You have truly betrayed the king. Tiger Ji said, I remember back then, when the old king of gods first brought you back. You insisted on eating glazed flaming chicken. Big brother flew far away to buy it for you. You should remember this. But temptation blinded you. Dream Chooser's expression darkened. He then said stubbornly, Big brother's death has nothing to do with me. I didn't want to kill anyone else. There was the sound of people flying over at supersonic speed. Cloudy and Tiger Ji turned around and saw Nyeting and Shin Bailey flying over. Cloudy looked at Dream Chooser. We will clean the gate in place of the king. There is no need for you to leave behind any last words. Our king will definitely not want to hear them. The moment she finished speaking, the ironclad puppet beside her punched Dream Chooser. Dream Chooser, whose strength had dropped to Class B, was powerless. A generation of puppet masters died just like that. For some reason, Cloudy felt a tinge of sadness. She looked at where the celestial gate had disappeared for 2 seconds. Then, she flew to the southwest with Tiger Ji. Where are we going? Tiger Ji asked curiously. There is a hot pot place at Chuanzhou that is really good. I'm bringing you there to try. Then? I heard that there's a great new movie in the cinemas. After that? We will wait for our king to return.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty. Man, we just putting on the show. Try to look to the heavens.